This is a KTF Press podcast.
What to you right now is standing out to you as compelling about the incarnation of Jesus and the Advent season?
Oh man, so many things, especially trying to explain Christmas to a little girl who is trying to also understand what Hanukkah is and also understand what Kwanzaa is and also understand why certain people celebrate New Year's and other people don't, right? Like what's distinct about this thing called Christmas?
Interesting.
What is standing out to me is the humanity of Jesus, and in contrast to the way that we talk about him it's like we stuff him into the divine and don't bring him into the humanity, or we stuff him into humanity and don't contemplate the divine. They don't hang out with each other.
Ooh, elaborate.
All right, so there's this poem by a woman named Caitlin Hardy Stelter. It's like making its way around Facebook again, and it says, "A real scandal of the birth of God," and it starts out, "Sometimes I wonder if Mary breastfed Jesus, if she cried out when he bit her, or if she sobbed when he would not latch." And having had a kid, 2 kids, and watching that intimate, hard process happen, it's like, yeah, like Jesus was a person, but he was also God. And then, Mary, did you know? Right, seems to that song completely seems to dismiss the fact that an angel showed up and told her lots of things, and she like burst into worship in this song that we call the Magnificat, which, so it seems like we don't know what to do with the tension of that, the humanity and the divinity, and how those things interplay with each other. And there's another photo or a piece of art that shows Joseph holding Mary's hand, and she's in labor pushing. And so I just wonder, what if I was able to contemplate Christ as human and contemplate Christ as the Son of God at the same time, and be able to hang out in that tension? Because in that tension is something I can't control. It's only something I can observe and appreciate, as opposed to try to box in and a fixed value or to put to my labeling.
What has thinking about that more like taken you anywhere?
What it's pushing me to is to be okay with the wrestling and being okay with the wrestling. And so Hannah-Kate at Freedom's Bride on Twitter, she posted, "I'm okay with wrestling in my understanding of the scriptures because I'm confident in the one who gave them to us. I'm okay with being confused by hard text because my security isn't in my competence, but in the one who is faithful. And I am more certain that God is real. He exists. He is present. He moves and all of that in the world, like by far. I am also more certain that I do not know everything about him and what he's doing. And I think that this Christmas leads me to that. Like, I am much smaller than I ever thought I was, much more insignificant and limited than I ever thought I'd, to be or imagine myself. And that is okay.
Yeah. Those thoughts for Hannah Kate, for people who don't follow her on Twitter, you should. Those thoughts are very hard won for her. She's like a very public survivor of sexual assault and advocate for people who have been assaulted inside the church. Following her on Twitter is like watching her go through her journey. She's very open about it, and it's worth doing if you don't know who she is.
Mm-hmm. Turn that question back to you, so I would love to hear what's standing out to you this Christmas season.
Yeah, totally. So something I've been thinking about a lot is, maybe not surprising to people who have listened to this podcast, but I have been thinking about the fear of being human that we talked about with Dr. Hardwick, and how we are so quick to dismiss and avoid and try and push away like the pain and the difficulties that come with living in a physical limited body. And obviously when we were having that conversation with him, we were talking specifically about disabilities and how people fear them and how that's a fear of disabilities. And that's a reflection of our fear of being human. So what's been standing out to me, I think, is just the complete absence of the fear of being human in God, just the total vulnerability of becoming a baby and being subject to the everyday things of this world. I mean, natural disasters, like tripping and falling could have killed Jesus like it could any of us, And he was absolutely willing. He was able to become a human, which is sort of a remarkable thing in and of itself, but then was willing to do it, wanted to do it in order to be closer to us, in order to save us, in order to bring his kingdom close to earth. And that it's something that like none of us could do, which is an obvious thing to say. Like, yeah, none of us as Christians are supposed to think that we could have saved the world the way Jesus could have. But it, to me, just emphasizes kind of his difference from us. But then I kept thinking about it a little bit more. And like in his becoming human, like you just talked about, he also experiences like the fears that we experience. He experiences the temptations and the insecurities. And I was just thinking of the Garden of Gethsemane and Jesus, asking God to take this cup away from me. I don't want to go to the cross. I don't want to be, executed or go through whatever. We don't know exactly what it was that he was afraid of, right? But he did not want to go through something because it was going to be horrible. And I think it is comforting to me to have both a God who understands that fear of being human that I experience myself and also like a fear that I have kind of pushed on me by other people. He understands that and overcame it and understood what you get from overcoming it. And that what you get from overcoming it is the kingdom, is eternal life, is love and joy, right? Like for the joy set before him is why he endured the cross. And all of that is wrapped up in the act of God becoming a baby. And I think that's just extremely powerful and something I've been thinking a lot about in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff you just named is like, those things are significant, but it also made me think about like he subjected himself to like the potential for infanticide, right? Like Herod said, we're going to kill these children.
Right.
And then subjecting himself to being a refugee, right? To not having a home. There's a lot about the trials of life that are mounting, and Jesus knows all of them.
To get more like this, subscribe at ktfpress.com.